Welcome to the July 2023 Las Vegas Real Estate Report. In this video, I'm going to cover the June Las Vegas area housing stats, give you my current market assessment, talk a little bit about the mortgage rates, where we've been and where are we going, mainly when are the interest rates projected to come down. That is what everybody wants to know. And we'll cover where are the opportunities right now, because there are some here in our market. There always are opportunities, whether a buyer, seller, or both. Hi, my name is Jan O'Brien, along with my co-team leader, Cosmo Marabi. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. We have a great team of local area experts, all seasoned veterans ready to help you with all your real estate needs, in addition to Cosmo and I. Make sure you reach out to whoever sent this video to you. They're here for all your real estate needs around the valley. All right, let's dive into the numbers. I want to start with solds, 2293, down 14% year over year, as reported by Las Vegas Realtors. These numbers are all single family homes. I'm not including attached condo townhomes. So 2293, 14.1% down year over year. Nationally, to put that in perspective, it's about 20% down nationally. We're doing a little bit better. Las Vegas is always an outlier. However, there's always an interest here in Las Vegas, and we have increased interest with all the great things that are happening in our city, from sports, entertainment capital of the world, tons of new housing opportunities, and we'll get to that. But I just want to point out that solds are down, but there's a steady demand, right? It was definitely higher in these numbers are 2022, but there's always a seasonality also, where things are a little slower at the beginning and the end of the year. We usually have an uptick in the spring, a little bit maybe in the summer into the fall, a little downturn in the summer, and then in the fall, we pick up a little bit, and then in the last couple winter months, it can go down, and that actually shows that here. But since the beginning of the year, 13, 17, 2,300, 19, the last 2 months have been right around 2,300 solds. Okay, now median sales price, what's happened to that? We peaked in May of 2022, 482,000 was a historical high for Las Vegas. What happened in May, June? Interest rates peaked up over 6%. We'll get to rates in just a moment, but they were up at 6 and even pushing 7. And that's where we saw a halt. People putting their homes, basically saying, if they're homeowners, saying, I'm not going to sell my home, not when I have a sub 3, somewhere 2.75 to 3 under 4% interest rate. Not a big desire to sell. And buyers were like, I'm going to wait and see what's happening. Well, that's been happening since last year. There's still people out buying, but there's definitely not a ton of demand, comparatively speaking, even pre-pandemic years. Now, the challenge with that is going to be, if you're sitting on the fence right now as a buyer, saying, I'm going to wait till either the housing market crashes, I'm going to cover that in a moment too, or the prices, the interest rates come down, which I do believe they will. Just think about it for a second. If everybody does that, which is what I think a lot of people are doing, waiting for events to happen, prices to come down, frankly, prices are probably going to continue to go up because of, as soon as there is lower interest rates, there'll be more demand and maybe not as much inventory. More sellers will put their homes on the market when they see those rates come down, but there'll be enough demand to eat up all of that inventory that comes onto the market. And that's what this line right here shows, availability. So we started out in the beginning of the year. It actually peaked up in September, right? 8,100, and it's been falling ever since. This means how many homes were on the market at the end of this reporting period, that snapshot in time, that particular day. So in September of 2022, there were 8,121 single-family homes in the Las Vegas market. It continued to go down every month until the last couple months we're seeing. So right here in March or April, we saw 37, and now we're holding steady, 3645, 3680. That is just indicative of where we are in the market there, which is causing the time on the market to go down as well. So months of inventory, supply of inventory. Since we have a pretty steady demand, there's really only 1.6 months of inventory, which simply means if all things stay equal, we have the same number of homes available and the same demand. It will only take a month and a half for all the homes to get sold if nothing more came on the market. All right. But if you're waiting until events happen where interest rates come down, and you're hoping that there'll be more inventory, the challenge is going to be there's going to be more competition. If everyone's sitting on the sidelines and then the interest rates get below 5%, let's say, which may happen hopefully by next year, there will be a feeding frenzy again, which will drive prices up. So why am I going into that in great detail? Because I've been saying for months, and you can go back and look at the videos on this channel, we believe the opportunities are here now. You'll hear things in the marketplace about, buy the home, rent the rate, or marry the home and date the rate. And what that simply means is if you're in a position that you can buy, using negotiation tactics that we can help you with. Maybe it's a new home where we can negotiate and get your interest rate down with a buy down. Maybe get a better deal on a home, which we have a bit of a mixed market. So those opportunities are there. And if you believe the interest rates are going to come down like most people do, then you can always refinance. So not everybody's in a position to do that, but you may find that you'll have better opportunities now than you will when this increase of pending sales and more buyers come onto the market because everything has gotten to where everybody wants it to be. Okay. Now the sales prices, we went down from 482 back in May of last year. Steady downturn. It was even for 4 months in a row. Then we saw 430, 442, 440. Why did those prices go up? Once again, supply and demand. Not as much inventory, sellers not putting their home on the market. That's where the correlation is, and a steady demand for the time that we're in. All right, moving on. Here's just a depiction of that so you can see 482. This is just graphically, it's more visually easy to see those stats. Here were those months in the beginning, end of December. From December to the first 3 or 4 months of the year is pretty steady. Now we're seeing it increase. All right, let's see where it's going to go. We think it's going to either continue to increase just a little bit. It's definitely not going to go down, the prices. Let's get into mortgage rates. I put this chart up just to show how volatile. This is just the past 30 days as I record this on July 24th. How volatile the mortgage market is. And the reds indicate a increase in the interest rate for that particular day, where the greens will show a slight decrease. And that's really what the bottom line is. It's been hovering right around 6.9. We got as high as like 7.22 here, I think is the highest for the last 30 days. And then you see these steady greens going down, then it peaks back up. And as I record this, we're at 6.99 for a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage with 0 points. It's always a little lower for FHA and VA, and you can see here it's 6.59 and 6.62. But where are we going? This is Lawrence Yun, the National Association of Realtors chief economist for years, along with many other economists who follow the markets way more than we do. This is the consensus. Mortgage rates will drop with the 30-year fixed mortgage rate progressively, falling to, this is his prediction, to 6% this year, and then under 6% in 2024. There's more people who are a little more bullish, thinking it's going to be lower. And it has everything to do with what's happening with inflation. It's so interesting. The reports show that we're not quite, we're still in the 4s or so with inflation. The Fed, as you know, if you follow this, wants that inflation rate to be at 2%. A lot of experts feel we're closer in the 3.3 point higher than 3 rate. It's just not being reported. But the bottom line is expect the rates to stay pretty much where they are, progressively decreasing, hopefully with good economic data about inflation decreasing. And then ultimately into the new year is where I feel that we're going to see the interest rates come down significantly. All right. If you're waiting for the market to crash, which is, again, headlines, don't believe everything you see in the headlines. Because you have to compare what they're talking about. What's the data point? What are they talking about? So when you hear a headline that says foreclosure filings are up 8%, well, if they're comparing that to the last few years, that could seem a little significant. But remember, right here, the filing rates were down during the pandemic because we had a moratorium, and it took a couple years of people not having no mortgage foreclosures could be filed. during the pandemic and the moratorium. And then it took months, if not a whole nother year, to come out of that. And that's what was expected, an increase in foreclosure filings. But let's just talk about it. In the month of June for Las Vegas Realtors reporting, all sales combined, there are some new homes wouldn't factor into this, but resale, single family, and of course condos and townhomes, they accounted for 1.2% of all the 2219 sales. All right, what that number, 2200 sales I just mentioned. So it's always been right around there in the last several years, right around 1.2% or lower. Okay, now why? Most homeowners have equity. Look at this chart. This is a national chart, courtesy of Keeping Current Matters. 39% of people that have homes with them that are homeowners in the country own their home free and clear, no mortgage. 29% have more than 50% equity. Plenty of equity, even if circumstances changed in their lives, where it's a loss of job and so forth, that they're getting behind, and that they have to sell. They'll be able to sell before it goes to foreclosure. And mortgaged homes with less than 50% equity makes up the other 32%. So why are we not going to have a foreclosure crisis? Well, equity, number one. It's nothing like it was in the 2008 crash, okay? Completely opposite. Tighter lending standards. That is one of the other main reasons. People who have mortgages now in the past several years, after the crash and all the things that were put into place to curtail it from happening again, means that people have actually qualified for their homes and they have the ability to pay, unless, again, some unusual circumstances happen. But I believe the market can absorb all these new listings. If more properties come on the market because it's a short sale, it's going to be very few short sales and foreclosures, as I just mentioned. We certainly can absorb them. And again, I mentioned there obviously was an increase expected. So the news will say it's up 8%, but we're comparing it to the pandemic years when there was a moratorium, when there were no foreclosure filings. So you have to put it into perspective, and that's what this chart shows. Back in the crisis, look at the number of foreclosure filings just for the first 6 months of the year. This is comparing the first 6 months of the year to have because we're just, through June here, up in the millions, right? Through all the way through as we came out of all that. Here's where all the things were put in place in 2012. It continued to decrease. Here's where we had barely any. And now it upticked a little bit in 22 and 2023 as we came out of the pandemic. All right, where do I think are the biggest opportunities in Las Vegas right now? I think it's still new construction homes. Here's a recent article from the Review Journal. Vegas home builders hold steady. I just want to point out a couple things that are in this article. Despite elevated interest rates, Las Vegas home builders are holding steady and reporting solid sales, even as single-family home prices slightly increase. And definitely the median sales price of new homes is definitely higher than resale homes. Historically, it always has been. But the market, as we know, is going through this reset. But in May, they reported 990 new closings. That was a 7% decrease over the May previously, and they were down 9% for the year. But that's on par with what I just reported for resales. We're down 14%. So they're only down 9%. All right. So there's a lot of people turning to purchasing new homes. So, and how do we know this? Well, we can see the number of homes and the permits that are being pulled. Builders continue to open new communities throughout the valley. There were 9 openings in May that brought 894 more lots available to be released and sold onto the market, with the average base asking price at $537. So there you go. Much higher base asking list price at $537,278. But the opportunities are here for sure in new home constructions. And let me talk a little bit more about that. So if you're a buyer, I've mentioned already in this video and all my previous videos, the story remains the same. Inventory increased and peaked in September of last year. It had declined ever since, but holding steady at about 3,600 to 3,700. More competition when interest rates come down and everybody jumps back into the market. 100%. We're already seeing that. We have a very mixed market wherein multiple offers happen when properties are in great shape and they're appealing, they're priced well. That's happening already. There are a lot of homes that sit on the market, but those are the ones that potentially they're either overpriced or they need renovations. Okay. So if you're waiting, expect multiple offers and higher prices down the road as interest rates come down. Okay. For resales, new builds, sales are strong. I just talked about that. Many builders are increasing their sales prices. We're back to increasing sales prices in the communities that are selling strong. They are really controlling that inventory, releasing it. There are waiting lists. However, there are opportunities with builders that have more inventory to move. They call them spec builds or quick move in. We continue to see incentives. And that's why you need to reach out to us or someone on our team. We really stay up on where we know where all the new builds are. We sell a lot of new homes. We know where and how to negotiate for you to find those deals. If you're ready to buy soon, that's where you're going to get the best opportunities with incentives, special financing well below the interest rates of today. This is how the builders across the nation are making sales and kind of keeping things afloat. So let us negotiate on your behalf. Reach out to us and we will help you point out where all the best deals in town are. If you're a seller, market peak again, 482. It went down, but good news if you're a seller, it's gone back up. Here's a chart just showing perspective. And it's important to have perspective because people think like, my home used to be worth so much. You know, in the unicorn years, as we're calling it, the anomaly that was the pandemic. Okay, that was so crazy in 31 years in the business to see how fast prices went up because of hardly any inventory, way lower than what we have now, and a huge demand because the interest rates were so low. That's what pushed things up. All right. So we ended the year at 2021 at 425. In 2022, it was also 425 because of this change right here, 482 to 425. So 2022 was a zero-sum game. Okay. Now, are we going to end the year at lower than 425? Probably not. So if you're a seller, you're back on track with catching up with some of that so-called equity that was lost here in the first 6 months of 2022. But if you bought earlier, years prior, you have significant inventory. And that's what I was just saying, unless you've taken out second mortgages and so forth for sellers that have done that. But here's the bottom line. If your home, you've done renovations to it, it's well maintained, and you price it right, you can expect multiple offers. Now, it's not saying that you can't sell your home if it needs to be renovated. It just needs to have the proper price because people will buy it. But you can't expect to get top dollar for a home if it needs work. If it's a 20 or 30-year-old home that has the original flooring and carpets, people walk in and go, I don't want to spend the money on that. Now, during the pandemic, they were like, doesn't care. FOMO, I got to buy a house. The interest rates are so low. I'll deal with it. I'll overpay for it. But just to put this into perspective, we have a team member, Dennis Anderson, who just put a property on the market with a pool, 1,818 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, in Piccoli Ranch, right outside of Summerlin. Put it on the market. Within 2 days, he had many, many showings and multiple offers. He's got it under contract above list price right now. Okay, where folks were willing to waive the appraisal even. So that is the point I'm making. There is proof positive that if your home, especially right now with the heat that we have, if you want to sell your pool home, chances are this is the best time to get a good price on that. And if you need to sell and then buy, everything I just talked about for buying opportunities exist, being able to potentially get into a really good new home with good incentives. Or again, if you can take the equity out now and go buy your next home if you're staying in Las Vegas, you can always get the interest rate refinance when the interest rate comes down. All right. So that is it for the July Las Vegas real estate report. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next month and report on what happened in August for July statistics.